Hi, and welcome to my channel. Here I want to explain the New York State Science Learning Standards that started way back in 2016, at least here on this timeline. And for the first time this June, we had a new science test for elementary grade 5 and intermediate science test for grade 8. Both of those tests can be found on the New York State website if you want to take a look at them with the answer keys. They were administered via the computer, so the students were in front of a computer taking those tests, so it's something totally new. And these are based on these new standards that have been talked about, which I want to explain here. Moving forward next year, there are going to be two new exams in science. The bio and what they're calling now Earth and Space Science exams will be new, and then June 2026, there will be chemistry and physics. This document that introduces the New York State Science Learning Standards, again, is found on the website, and I'm just going to give you my take or my reading on the whole thing. New York State, along with a lot of other states across the country, started to adopt what they call the NGSS, or Next Generation Science Standards. The whole idea is that students are going to learn by doing, not just information that's going to be fed to them. Being able to think like a scientist slash engineer and solve problems that way, we are going to get better educated students in the future, or at least that's what is thought. The New York State Science Learning Standards is from two National Science Council documents, not just the Next Gen Science Standards, but this framework K through 12 science education document. Let's take a look at the standard. I spent a lot of years before I retired looking at these pages and trying to make sense of them myself. What you see here in the black print are known as the performance expectations, or PE. These statements are things that every student should be able to do. And you'll notice the wording: use the periodic table, plan and conduct, develop models, etc. So again, we're trying to get the students to think of things in terms of a scientific way of problem solving, along with what the students have to be able to do in these standards and what they can be tested on. There are these three dimensions, and that is below. There are the science and engineering practices, disciplinary core ideas, and cross-cutting concepts. All of the standards, again, even pre-K through high school. Of course, the ones at the lower grades are not going to have as much information that the students have to do, but the point is it's all laid out the same way. And with the science and engineering practices, it's all about thinking and behaving like a science person slash engineer, developing and using models, planning and carrying out, analyzing, interpreting data, etc. Your disciplinary core ideas, that's the meat and potatoes. That is the material, the information that a student should know. In this case, we're talking about matter. So what's the structure and properties of matter? What about the periodic table? What about ideal gases, right? That matter consists of, solids, liquids, gases. Atoms are protons, neutrons, electrons. So all of your information, that basic foundation, is what I always call it with my students, is your disciplinary core ideas. And then your cross-cutting concept. Here, the whole idea was that we don't want students just sitting in, let's say, a chemistry class, and they're only thinking about what's in front of them and not the connections that can be made with whatever they're studying. Whether it leads to something in biology or chemistry with physics, those cross-cutting concepts can be made. That is really it. Now, what's interesting is the Next Generation Science Standards do not have chemistry and physics separate. They have them together as physical science. Since New York State has a history of the bio, earth science, chemistry, and physics regencies, it is, as far as I understand it, and the way it looks, will still be split, which I personally think is a good idea. There is definitely more information that I think students should know. I think every student going to high school should take all four sciences. Maybe that's just me, but that's what I feel they need as part of a well-rounded education. These are the new standards. It's a different way of looking at it. It's trying to take away not take away, but really get the students to go ahead and do some problem solving and really think about what they're studying. For the teacher side of things and lesson planning, it's going to be definitely different. We have a lot of different labels. A lot of the stuff that you see here, if your students, or I'm sorry, your kids have already gone through high school, your students, if you taught before, a lot of it is just changing the labels. I mean, in science, we're typically doing a lot of these things already. But I think the whole idea was to make it kind of uniform and building on itself, starting with the lower grades and then, of course, into the high school grade. I do want to point one other thing out here at the New York City Public School website. That's weteachnyc.org. They already have some really good information with regards to the New York State standards. And it makes sense, of course. We're dealing with the city and so many students. The Science Scope and Sequence, which is pre-K through 8th grade. This is recent. This is 2022. I think that this is very valuable for parents and teachers alike, and it gives you an idea of, the year-long plan, how long things would take, and what students would be doing during that time. You'll see here that they have the performance expectation and then those 3 dimensions. I think that personally this is awesome. When you look through the grades 9 through 12 courses, the earth science, bio, chemistry, and physics, they have not been fully updated yet to the new New York State standards. I'm thinking this summer that the biology and earth science will have to be updated because the new test will be June of 2025. Here is from the high school living environment curriculum, an idea of what I'm talking about with New York City. So the recommended time for scientific inquiry in the classroom, 10 days. Here's the essential question, the unit overview, the key ideas, and then information here about the standards and what students need to know, and then cross-cutting concept. Now, this has not been totally changed to those 3 dimensions that we saw with the new New York State science learning standards. That's what I'm hoping. The city might be coming out with a new document soon that will help not just the city teachers, but teachers all throughout New York State and parents to know, or at least give an idea of what the city is doing as far as the 4 courses in high school. That's it for now, and I hope that you understand the new standards a little better. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.